We buried my husband, Mark, on a Tuesday. The service was a blur of gray suits and muffled sobs, the casket polished to a cruel shine. On Wednesday, his oldest friend, Leo, found me sitting alone in our devastated kitchen. He didn't offer condolences. He placed a sealed manila envelope on the table between us, his hand shaking. "Mark gave me this 6 months ago," he said, his voice gravelly with grief and something else. Fear. He told me, "If anything happens to me, especially if it looks like an accident, you give this to Sarah. No one else." Inside was a single sheet of paper, a screenshot of a text message. The sender's name was Tom, Mark's younger brother. The message read, "Remember, the policy pays double for accidental, $2 mill versus $1. Gotta make it look real. No room for error." The timestamp was from a year ago. The police report sat on my counter, its conclusions stamped in official ink. Tragic accident. Single vehicle rollover. No signs of foul play. That screenshot turned the ink to blood. My husband's death wasn't a twist of fate on a rainy highway. It was a business transaction. A $2 million exit strategy planned by his own brother. And my husband knew. He knew, and he was trying to tell me from beyond the grave. Mark and Tom were the classic brothers, sun and shadow. Mark was the stable one, a civil engineer who built bridges. I was his anchor, our 2 kids his universe. Tom was the charismatic whirlwind, a serial entrepreneur whose ventures always burned bright and fast, leaving a trail of debt and dazzled investors. Mark was his safety net. Always. He co-signed loans, made bridge investments, bailed him out. It was the family tax, the price of being the responsible one. A year before he died, Mark came to me, worried. "Tom's in deep," he'd said. "Something about a resort development in Costa Rica. He needs a massive influx, or he's not just bankrupt, he's looking at fraud charges." He asked me to take out a policy. A life insurance policy. On himself, with Tom as the beneficiary. He says it's collateral. So he can get a business loan from some private hard money guys. They want assurance. I was furious. "You are not a human collateral note." Mark agreed. He refused Tom. But a month later, Mark did something unusual. He increased his existing work policy to a massive $2 million death benefit. He told me it was for me and the kids, a smart move for our future. He made me the primary beneficiary. But he added Tom as a contingent beneficiary. "Just to get him off my back," Mark sighed. "It shows the loan guys I'm supporting his venture. It's meaningless. You're the primary." The policy had a double indemnity clause. It paid twice the amount for accidental death. $4 million. I signed the forms without another thought. Mark started acting differently. He was quieter. He took up hiking, saying he needed to clear his head. He'd go on solo weekend trips to state parks with treacherous trails. He bought new gear. I thought it was a midlife crisis, a reaction to the stress of Tom's chaos. I was wrong. He was rehearsing. He was studying the stage where his brother planned for him to die. The text screenshot from Leo was a detonation in my silent world. I confronted Leo. "Did Mark say anything else?" Leo looked shattered. He said Tom had gotten involved with dangerous people. That the Costa Rica thing was a money laundering front for a cartel. Tom had stolen from them. The life insurance policy wasn't for a loan. It was Tom's repayment plan. Mark was the payment. The accident report said Mark's SUV left the road on a remote, winding mountain pass called Devil's Elbow. Heavy rain, possible animal strike, lost control. The vehicle was found at the bottom of a ravine, burned. The coroner cited blunt force trauma and smoke inhalation. It was clean. Too clean. I hired a private investigator, a former crash reconstruction specialist named Vance. I showed him the text. His eyes hardened. Double indemnity. The oldest motive in the book. He obtained the traffic cam footage from the highway leading to Devil's Elbow. Mark's SUV passed at 3:15 p.m. A nearly identical black SUV passed 2 minutes later. Vance isolated the driver. It was Tom, wearing a baseball cap, but the profile was unmistakable. Tom had told the police he was 3 hours away, meeting with a potential investor. He had an alibi witness, the investor, a man named Cruz. Vance dug into Cruz. He was a business consultant with ties to the same Miami finance group Tom was involved with. His alibi was bought. Vance then obtained the vehicle's black box data from the manufacturer before the insurance company could destroy it. The data told a different story. In the 10 seconds before the crash, there was no erratic steering to avoid an animal. Instead, the throttle was floored. The SUV accelerated into the curve. And just before impact, the data showed a sharp, deliberate steering input toward the ravine edge. This wasn't a loss of control. It was a piloting. Someone in that car drove it off the cliff. But the coroner said Mark was alive at impact. Why would he? Then Vance found it. In the chemical analysis of the crash site soil, mixed with the gasoline, were traces of succinylcholine, a powerful paralytic used in surgeries. Undetectable in a badly burned body. Someone had rendered Mark unconscious or paralyzed before the crash. He was a passenger in his own death. Tom was the driver of the following car. He must have met Mark, injected him, staged the crash, set the fire, and driven away. It was a two-man operation. But who was the second man? The insurance company had been dragging its feet on the payout, citing an ongoing investigation. Now I knew why. Their own investigators smelled a rat. I couldn't go to the police yet with just a text and a theory. I needed Tom's digital footprint. I remembered Mark kept an old iPad synced to his phone for the kids. I found it, buried in a drawer. It was password-locked, but our daughter knew Daddy's pattern, the kids' birthdays. I accessed it. The messages with Tom were mostly deleted. But I had a friend, a cybersecurity expert, who performed a recovery on the device's cloud backup. The deleted messages that poured forth were a roadmap to murder. Tom, the cliff at Devil's Elbow is perfect. Guardrail is weak.
No cameras.
Mark, this is insane. I'm not doing it. Tom, you think they're playing? They have pictures of Sarah leaving the gym, of the kids' school. You pay with the policy, or they collect from your family.
Directly.
Mark, I'll go to the FBI. Tom, asterisk and tell them what? That you knowingly helped me launder money for 18 months? You're an accomplice, Mark. You go down too. This is the only way out. You die an accidental hero. Your family gets $2 million from the policy. I get $2 million to pay the debt, and the threat to them disappears. It's a win-win, asterisk. Mark, what do I have to do, Tom? Just go for a drive. We'll handle the rest. You won't feel a thing. I promise. The text stopped a week before the crash. The final one was from Mark, not to Tom, but to his own draft folder. Unsent. It read, Sarah, if you're reading this, I'm so sorry. I got us into something dark. Tom is in with monsters. This is the only way to make them leave you alone. I love you. Forgive me. He was choosing to die to save us. Tom had trapped him, leveraging both the external threat of the cartel and Mark's own sense of guilt for helping him. The accident was a coerced suicide, orchestrated for profit. Tom wasn't just a murderer. He was a predator who manipulated his brother into being a willing victim. I also found texts between Tom and the alibi witness, Cruz, discussing wire transfers to a Cayman Islands account, timed for after the successful completion of the insurance claim. Cruz wasn't just an alibi.
He was the second man.
The one who likely administered the paralytic while Tom drove the follow car. They were partners that I didn't go to the local police. I went straight to the state attorney general's office, organized crime and fraud division, with Vance, my cyber friend, and a file thicker than a novel. I gave them everything, the texts, the traffic cam, the black box data, the financial links between Tom, Cruz, and the Miami group. I told them about the threat to my children. Within 48 hours, they moved. Tom and Cruz were arrested at a private airport, preparing to board a flight to Costa Rica with one-way tickets. The trial was a media circus. Brother kills brother for insurance payout. Tom's defense was that Mark was suicidal, that he had staged his own death because of depression, and that the texts were just dark brotherly banter. But the forensics were undeniable. The paralytic in the soil. The black box data. The life insurance policy Tom had pressured Mark to increase. The financial records showing Tom's debts were wiped clean 2 weeks after the payout was released to him, before it was frozen by the court. He was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy. He got life without parole. Cruz got 25 years. The insurance company, after a lengthy legal battle, paid out the policy, the standard $1 million death benefit, not the double. They argued, successfully, that the death was not an accident but a homicide, voiding the clause. I didn't fight it. The money felt tainted. I put it in a trust for my kids' education, a bitter seed from their father's sacrifice. I sold our house, moved across the country, changed our names. Tom isn't in prison in my mind. He's in the passenger seat of that SUV, forever, convincing his brother to drive off a cliff to pay his debts. Mark thought he was buying our safety with his life. All he bought was a lifetime of wondering, for me and our children, if love can ever be separated from the price someone paid for it. This story sits in the darkest moral territory.